Hi. My opinion of the mediation that we read about was that I thought that the mediator did a really good job with the conflict. I think especially when you're dealing with like sibling rivalries, it can be really complicated, and there's a lot of like personal feelings that cause it to be kind of hard to find a solution because people fight differently with their siblings than they do other people. And so I thought he handled it really well. For the stage one, I thought he did a really good job establishing a relationship with them. In the beginning, they seemed to be like confused on the fact that he wasn't a judge and that he was a mediator. So I thought he did a good job like setting ground rules in the beginning and explaining to them what he was there to do, because they kept being like, oh, like you're here to like decide who's right and wrong. And I thought he did a good job like breaking it down and being like, no, like my job isn't to decide who's right or wrong. My job is to be neutral and to like help you guys come up with a solution together that works for everybody. And I liked how he like took time to really understand both points of views while still staying neutral. So he like let them explain it from their point of view, and then tried his best to understand it from their point of view. The only thing I thought he could have done, I mean, it wasn't very clear from the reading, but maybe be a little more clear about the process and what's going to be happening through the mediation process. Going on to stage two, the actual mediation, I thought he did a good job of letting them know the difference between court and mediation, kind of what I was saying before, just like letting them know that mediation is different from a court hearing and that you have to kind of get the difference out of your mind so that you can have like an effective mediation. I thought he did a really good job of like listening carefully and being non-biased in the situation. And I specifically liked that he like restated it to them, like they would explain their side and then he would restate it back to them how he understood it, and that way like not just that the other side was able to hear it from a neutral perspective and not just from their biased perspective. So I thought that was like a really smart thing to do in mediation. And then they were able to come to an underlying interest. They were able to kind of figure out like, hey, we both want our businesses to be successful, and they realized that they weren't actually trying to sabotage each other and sabotage each other's businesses, and so they were able to kind of figure out that, hey, we're actually on the same page and we're not enemies. And then in stage three, I liked that they got behind to starting issue that led to further conflict. So they like figured out like what actually like was causing it from the very beginning, and the very beginning issue was what was causing like more and more conflict to begin because they like didn't trust each other anymore. The only thing I think they could have worked on is like they got a little distracted from the main conflicts they were trying to focus on, because the one brother like brought in like a list of like all of the things that his sister did that he didn't like, and he would like keep bringing it up, and I think it kind of like got a little distracted because he just like kept bringing up all of these things that she had done, and then they kind of would go on like little tangents. So maybe like staying a little more focused, I don't know. One thing I noticed they didn't do is he like the mediator like tried to see it from their perspectives, but I don't remember him like having them try and see it from the other person's perspective. Like he wasn't like, oh hey, like put yourself in their shoes and like maybe try to think of it from their situation. Maybe it was just a given, but I think that would be a smart thing to do. Like, hey, like let's like actually like put yourself in their shoes and try to see it from their situation, and then maybe that would be an effective thing to do. but he did lead them to see it from a neutral perspective, which I thought was good, through his like guidance. But overall in the end, I thought that they had a really successful mediation, and they like led with like the tools to be able to deal with conflict in the future on their own and in a better way. So I thought it was a great example of mediation, and yeah, I think it was a good thing to learn from and to look back on. So yeah.